Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media, and tonight uh, we have one of the really, when they talk about this OG and all of that type stuff, we really have one in the entertainment field that goes way back to a man named Bojangles and Sammy Davis Jr. and uh, there's the brothers. Give me a hand on them brothers that tap danced out of New York. I think they
Nicholas Brothers. They
right,
was
the
in the
Nicholas
movies.
brothers.
They was in
Uh,
the movies.
yeah, carrying on a tradition in our community that really has stood the test of time of at least a century. And who do we have here tonight?
Well, my name is Lonnie McFadden. I'm an entertainer here in Kansas City. Second generation. My dad was with the four chocolate drops. Later on became the three chocolate drops. He used to hang out and travel with Count Basie, Jimmy Lunsford, Jay McShann, all those guys. And like you said, he traveled in the same RKO circuit with Bill Bojangles Robinson and got to be real close with Sammy Davis. So yeah, that's my heritage.
Uh, hey, tell our audience a little bit about your coming up. I always say go back to kindergarten. What time, what year was it, and how you came up here in Kansas City, and then we're gonna go into what you're doing right now. If you can do a quick step on that.
Okay, well, if I were to do a timeline, Kansas City, I guess I was in 5 years old. That would have had to been like 1961, something like that. Yeah, about 1961. And of course, we were going to Linwood Elementary School, my brother and I. My mom became the president of the PTA the whole time that we were in school. It's pretty amazing actually. And that's when, well, let me back up. I don't know exactly when I started tap dancing because when I was 5 years old, we actually started practicing. But Ronald and I both knew how to tap dance by then because tap dancing was just fun time with daddy. I mean, my father he was good with kids and he taught us how to tap dance without us knowing. We learned till I was 5 years old. Then it became practice and I hated it. I hated it. but we were at 5 years old. I also started taking piano lessons um, from a guy named Booker T. Washington, actually. Yeah, that's interesting. But we took private lessons. He would come to our home and teach us private lessons, piano. And so the first gig we did, I was 7, Ronald was 6 years old. We performed at the old Mulebach Hotel with our father. Our backup band for that gig was the Scamps. People around here in Kansas City know how long they've been going on for probably about 80 to 90 years. I don't know, but they would just recycle, as one of them gets old and that is anyway, Scamps. So this was like in 1963, I believe. And we did a recital and that kind of started it. But what made me want to become an entertainer uh for my living was me listening to my dad talk about when they were on the road. And now, mind you, my father came up in hard times. I mean, like the club that's named after me, the Reno Club, the original Reno Club, he performed at, but he couldn't walk in the front door. Count Basie performed there, but he couldn't walk in the front door. So that's the era. I just want to paint the picture of the times he was talking about. But his stories were so colorful, and him and Jay McShann, they get on the front porch and have a couple of beers and be talking about them old times. And it sounded like so much fun to me. So even though they were talking about very very hard things. I mean, he talked about getting fired in Chicago and having to live off peanuts and Pepsi Cola. And I thought that was great. I mean, so I've always been enamored by what it would have been like to become a professional musician slash professional entertainer. So I'm in a consistent state of gratitude that that's what I do now. I am what I wanted to be at 5 years old, listening to my dad. Now I am that guy. So yeah, I
All
mean
right.
I mean I left out a whole lot,
Okay,
obviously.
but we on a time frame. Now I want you to go into you and your brother, the
Mm.
relationship, because y'all were like twins. Y'all not twins, but
Mm.
y'all was like twins when it came to this music, tap dance, and arts and entertainment. And what was that like growing up with him and now that he's gone?
Ah, okay. Let me take my time on this. Um, Ronald was 1 year younger than me, and he was my best friend from the time he was born to the time he left here. Um, it's a little raw to me now because 2 days ago was the anniversary of when he left here, and it's it's um it's so many things that I feel because he shouldn't be gone. It's like he's gone because of the negligence. Well, I won't go into details because my family's in litigation with J.P. Morgan and Lowe's Hotel right now. But it's I don't want to say I'm angry because I'm not. I'm actually thankful to God that I was able to have 66 years with somebody that I love that much, that loved me that much, that I shared everything. I mean, me and Ronald did everything together. We played baseball together. We were in the Cub Scouts and later Boy Scouts together. We played in the Lincoln High School marching band together. uh, I started a band, Lonnie and the Band, because when I left home at 16 years old with Clyde and him and her, he wasn't in it. Even though I was 16, I had a lot of facial hair and this big afro. So nobody ever questioned if I was too young. I mean, we were playing in nightclubs all over Midwest and in the West Coast. I quit high school and
Isn't that the jazz tradition, baby boy?
yeah, come on, man. It's like, I was my generation was one of the last that, you hear about Buck O'Neill and Satchel Paige and them barnstorming, where it's a lot of entertainers during that time, uh, that were barnstorming. It was, you set up at a place, put on a show, and so we were doing all of that. And I came back and started a band at 17 years old because Ronald wasn't able to be with us when we were Clyde and them. And Ronald was a major part of that band. I mean, and then after the band broke up, we were together 10 years. Ronald had been studying tap dancing very seriously with all these old hoopers. My dad, Willie Williams, Cornell Lyons, who used to be with the Rhythm, Businessmen of Rhythm. You can look up on YouTube and see these guys, phenomenal musicians from right here in Kansas City. Again, like to reiterate what you said earlier, my brother, this is part of our heritage. This is part of who we are. This is part of American heritage. And a big part of it uh, happened here in Kansas City. And so with me being able to meet these guys, and Ronald actually, like I said, started studying with them. So when Lonnie and the band broke up, Ronald was prepared to move to the next phase, and I wasn't. So I I got a job selling shoes on the Country Club Plaza. This is back in I guess the 80s. Yeah, the late about 85. Yeah, 80, 84, 1984. I'm selling shoes, and after I get off every evening, I'd go over to my mom's house, and Ronald would teach me these new techniques of tap dancing. After I started getting so I could dance almost as good as him, then he started putting this choreography together, and we started putting an act together. And that was when the McFadden Brothers was born in 1984. I mean, technically, the McFadden brothers was born on Ronald's birthday, 1957. But as an act, it was 1984. And then our first gig, Oleta Adams hired us. She was doing a concert for this big women's group at the music hall, and she wanted a dance act. And so she hired the McFadden brothers, and that's how we got to know her. And Ronald and Oleta did a dance piece together, you know, because Oleta was, and I don't say was, she is quite a dancer, but that was the one time that I can think of that she showcased her dancing was at the music hall. And Ronald and I, that was the debut performance of the McFadden brothers. So we were born on Oleta Adams show. And through the years, yeah, we performed with Sammy Davis, Gladys Knight and the Pips, uh, Count Basie when, you know, when Count Basie was here. But no, Count Basie had just left here, actually left the planet. And when we performed with we met Count Basie, but we didn't perform with the orchestra when he was alive. We performed with them for the first time and many numerous times when Frank Foster was over the band. And we performed with them for the first time on 18th and Vine. They had a jazz festival. They threw out a piece of plywood in the middle of 18th Street, in the middle of 18th Street, and they had this big bandwagon with the Count Basie Orchestra on it. And Ronald and I tap danced in front of the Count Basie Orchestra for the first time. And throughout the years, Wayne Newton, Tony Orlando, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Man,
I mean,
you just threw out real superstars, not these fake guys.
No.
What's the name? Wayne Newton, just like you, come up out almost out the womb, entertainment.
Yes, sir.
Home. You know what? When you said when you went on Barnstorming, now they call it that type stuff pop-ups. Y'all pop up anywhere doing your thing when you were 16, 17. But you said your brother couldn't go, so he laid back and was this and that. But when you came then, you said, well, while I was doing this, I wasn't into what that was, but he was. And he was planning, and he was stepping, and then I got involved. And y'all had a beautiful relationship that a lot of brothers can't have for whatever reason.
I agree. And I didn't know that. I thought all brothers were like me and Ronald, but that wasn't the case. I mean, Ronald and I were really best friends. I mean, and we were the yin and the yang of each other. I mean, when we started playing musical instruments, I played trumpet, he played sax. I was Miles, he was Bird. I mean, you know, the way we sing, his voice was exactly an octave under mine. It's really unique the way God put us together, man. And so so now there is no more McFadden Brothers.
But I tell you this, I got you. I sent my man to that Kaufman Center.
Yeah.
And y'all might have did 1 million performances, but that's the best that I seen.
Wow.
And then after that, y'all sat down and talked. You, Stephanie, and your brother.
That's right. I remember that.
Hold it, man. That film I got in my archives, baby. I was getting ready to take it off the internet because it was about 20 minutes. My guy covered your whole act there. And I remember before y'all went, that was like a major step in your career to perform at the Kaufman Center. And man, y'all showed out on that. And matter of fact, I think in this interview, I'm gonna put a segment of that footage in there.
Yeah, we
and send you the whole. I'll send you the whole. I thought you seen all of that.
No, I haven't seen all.
No, your brother and them seen it all.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I'm going to send that to you later on today.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Is there anything you want to say to our audience? Because, hey, audience, let me tell you, he's really taking his time being with us right now because he was like, Mr. Nelson, I gotta go practice. And so
yeah, that's real talk.
yeah.
That's as real as it gets. I'm getting ready to get on top of this.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. And I'd like for you to address our worldwide audience, but our Kansas City audience on some closing comments from you.
Well, let me start with thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for even finding my story relevant enough to put on your platform, because your platform is huge, and I do appreciate you, brother. The next in closing, I would say, because when you approached me, you said that you want to talk to me about Ronald not being here and me carrying on. So with that being the umbrella that this interview is under, I'd like to say there will never be another McFadden Brothers, but I continue to carry on the tradition that was passed on to me from my father at a nightclub that's named after, well, we give an authentic nod to the original Reno club. And you've heard of the original Reno club where Count Basie got discovered. That's the same place. They over sensationalize it. They talk about the jam session where Joe Jones, Gong, Charlie Parker. Well, that was at the Reno club, although it was way over sensationalized. Me and you we'll talk about real
That's
history
like the
on
Cotton
another
Club
time.
in New York, where I'm from.
Yeah, got you. Okay, same kind of situation. So right now, I have I'm partnered with the Ambassador Hotel downtown Kansas City, and it's a club called Lonnie's Reno Club that I could not be more proud of. And just like you were talking before we started the interview, and you and I were just visiting, and you mentioned that now I have the honor to be able to pass this on to one of my children, because I have 6 kids, but I have one kid that for whatever reason, she wants to do what I do. So Chloe McFadden is the next generation. She sings, she tap dances, and she's going to be the one to take it to the next generation. So that's all I can say in closing. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Kansas City, for embracing the McFadden family. I thank God that I had Ronald, and I thank God that I'm able to do something I love this much.
Hey, powerful, powerful. I'm gonna close. I like to get on Jim Watts' nerves.
My God, come on, man, Jimmy. That's my
That's how
man.
I met y'all. But
That is my man, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Come on.
So Jim is one of the founding fathers of What's Up Kansas City, first interviews and everything. But Jim always closes on his program. It was a plum-pleasing pleasure having you on the show. And I'm like, Jim, cut out all the damn niceties, man.
I love that. That's Jimmy. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure.
Yeah, classic Jim. So,
oh, that is.
Hey, we throwing that to the curb. How we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.